Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Tammy Slaton once attempted suicide. Here's what happened. In addition to her struggles with weight loss, Tammy Slaton has also had an issue with suicide. It was in January of 2018 that the TLC personality became overwhelmed by her health ailments and her weight. It was during an interview with People magazine just before the release of 1,000 Pounds Sisters on TLC that Tammy got candid. Weight issues left Tammy and her sister Amy Slaton in a dark place. When TLC viewers first met Tammy and Amy Slaton, we learned they weighed just over 400 and just over 600 pounds. Amy made a huge strive to lose weight, allowing her to have bariatric surgery. She, however, didn't listen to her doctor and became pregnant just months after the surgery. Unsurprisingly, her doctor became concerned she would just put the weight back on because of the pregnancy. We also learned Tammy hadn't left her home in over 6 years, with the exception of going to the doctor. This isolation put her in a place of deep depression. The depression became too much, and she did attempt suicide. Thankfully, she wasn't successful. Moreover, the suicide attempt seemed to be a real eye-opener for her. She didn't want to pass away at 35 or 40 years old after spending nearly a decade of her life never leaving her home. Rough childhood contributed to weight gain and suicide attempt. Tammy and Amy Slaton had a rough childhood. Their mother worked multiple jobs just to pay bills, and they could never afford truly nutritious food items. Their grandmother and father died when they were very young. The Slaton sisters grew up eating a lot of microwave meals because they were cheap. Fast food and canned goods were also a popular choice. And then the weight gain quickly became out of control. Amy and her sister Tammy Slaton admit they've been trying to lose weight since they were teenagers. But they told People magazine nothing they tried worked out. Becoming TLC personalities may have just saved the Slaton sisters' lives. As far as we know, Tammy Slaton has not made another suicide attempt since 2018. They both head toward happier and healthier lives as Season 2 currently airs on television. I can go to the store and not worry about my looks because I feel good about myself regardless of what other people say about me. I'm beautiful the way I am. Amy Slaton doted to People magazine. There aren't many details on Tammy Slaton's suicide attempt. Presently, there isn't a lot of information surrounding Tammy Slaton's suicide attempt. Just that it happened in January of 2018. And she didn't really talk about it until a year later. Presently, things are pretty serious for Tammy Slaton as her doctor tells her she only has about 5 years left to live if she doesn't make drastic changes to her health. Fans hope Tammy will take things seriously as they want only the best for Tammy Slaton. Tammy Slaton, one of the most talked about stars from 1,000 Pounds Sisters, has lived her life under the bright, often harsh, glare of reality television. Fans have watched her battle weight, addiction, loss, and depression. But behind the laughter, the family drama, and her often fiery personality, Tammy has faced moments so dark that she once attempted to end her life. It's a heartbreaking reality that reveals just how deep her emotional pain once ran, and how far she's come in her journey toward healing. A life under pressure. Before the fame, Tammy was a Kentucky woman just trying to survive. Alongside her sister Amy Slaton, she struggled for years with food addiction and mobility issues. Their childhood wasn't easy. Poverty, bullying, and emotional neglect left scars that never truly healed. When TLC's 1,000 Pounds Sisters began documenting their journey in 2020, viewers were captivated by their bond and determination. But what most didn't see was the pressure Tammy faced off camera. Fame magnified her insecurities. Suddenly, millions were watching her every move, every meal, every argument, every emotional breakdown. While Amy began to lose weight, get married, and start a family, Tammy often felt left behind. She became the villain of her own story, portrayed as angry, lazy, or unwilling to change. The online criticism grew relentless. Thousands of strangers hurled insults at her weight, her looks, and her attitude. For someone already struggling with self-worth, the negativity was crushing. Tammy once admitted in a tearful confession that she hated herself and felt like she was nothing but a burden. Those words weren't just a cry for help. They were an echo of years of emotional exhaustion. In a now infamous moment that fans rarely talk about openly, Tammy revealed that she once attempted suicide. It happened before her major health scare and before she began her recovery journey. At the time, Tammy felt isolated, hopeless, and unloved. Her relationships were strained, she was battling food addiction, and she often found herself confined to her bed, dependent on others for even basic needs. According to those close to her, Tammy's attempt wasn't about wanting to die, it was about wanting the pain to stop. She had reached a point where she no longer saw a future for herself. The endless cycle of dieting, public shaming, and personal disappointment had worn her down to the core. When she was discovered, family members rushed her to the hospital, where she was treated and placed under observation. The incident became a wake-up call, not only for Tammy but for everyone around her. It was a sobering reminder that beneath the humor and sass, there was a woman crying out for compassion. Amy's response, a sister's heartbreak. Amy Slaton has always been the more optimistic of the two sisters, but Tammy's near-tragic attempt broke her spirit. Amy admitted in one emotional episode that she was terrified of losing her sister, not to obesity but to depression. "I love Tammy," she said through tears, "but sometimes I feel like I can't save her." Amy's guilt was heavy. She wanted to help but didn't always know how. As she built her own family and welcomed her children, she struggled with balancing her happiness and her sister's pain. For Amy, Tammy's suicide attempt was a haunting reminder that mental health struggles can't be ignored, even by those who seem tough on the outside. Fans react with empathy. When Tammy eventually opened up publicly about her suicide attempt, fans' reactions shifted. Suddenly, people began to see her not as a villain, but as a victim of her own circumstances. Messages of support flooded social media. Viewers shared their own experiences with depression, self-harm, and body image, expressing newfound understanding for Tammy's struggles. One fan wrote, "People don't realize how lonely it must be to live your life feeling trapped, not just in your body but in your mind." Another said, "Tammy's honesty saved me. I realized if she can survive that darkness, maybe I can too." For perhaps the first time, Tammy wasn't being mocked, she was being heard. The road to recovery. After her suicide attempt, Tammy took her mental and physical health more seriously. It wasn't easy, progress was slow, and setbacks happened often. She entered a rehabilitation facility, where she not only worked on losing weight, but also began addressing her emotional trauma. In therapy, Tammy confronted painful memories from her past, bullying, family dysfunction, and feelings of abandonment. She learned to replace self-loathing with self-compassion. The rehab center became her sanctuary, a place where she could rebuild herself piece by piece. Her eventual tracheotomy and near-death experience in 2022 were another turning point. When she woke up in the hospital after being placed on life support, she reportedly said she felt grateful just to be alive. That brush with death gave her new perspective. She realized that she didn't want her story to end in tragedy. She wanted to fight for herself. Finding love and new purpose. Tammy's life began to change in ways no one expected. She met Caleb Willingham at the rehab facility, and the two bonded over their shared struggles and dreams of recovery. Their love story became one of the most surprising and tender arcs on 1,000 Pounds, Sisters. While their relationship eventually faced heartbreak with Caleb's death, it taught Tammy that she could be loved, truly loved, for who she was. Even after Caleb's passing, Tammy remained strong. Instead of falling back into despair, she honored his memory by continuing her health journey. She has since lost an incredible amount of weight, regaining mobility, confidence, and joy. Fans have noticed how her eyes sparkle again, and how her laughter feels lighter, genuine. A voice for mental health. Today, Tammy uses her platform to speak openly about mental health and body positivity. She acknowledges that she still struggles, but she refuses to hide behind shame. In interviews, she's emphasized that her story isn't just about weight loss. It's about surviving when life feels unbearable. "I didn't think I'd make it," she once said in an emotional social media post. "But I did. And if I can, so can you." Her bravery has inspired many who see themselves in her struggles. People who feel trapped by self-hatred, judgment, or the weight of their past. Tammy's journey is proof that healing doesn't happen overnight. But every day you wake up is another chance to begin again. A survivor's story. Tammy Slaton's story is no longer one of hopelessness. It's one of survival. From the depths of despair to the light of self-acceptance, she has transformed her pain into power. Her suicide attempt was a dark chapter, but not the end of her book. Now, as she continues to share her truth, she reminds the world that everyone deserves compassion, especially those who seem the hardest to love. Tammy Slaton didn't just survive obesity or fame, she survived herself. And in doing so, she's shown millions that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope.